So you want to become a van lifer. You want to live on the road full time. There's probably some things you might need to consider. I'm going to suggest maybe 3 things that you might want to think about if you're going to consider life on the road full time. These are 3 things that I have to think about on a really daily basis. Number 1, it's money. The stability that's necessary to live on the road. The idea that you can cover your monthly expenses. It's expensive. You know, a lot of people think that people living on the road full time are like homeless people that can't afford to live in a house. Well, I got to tell you, it's just almost as costly to live on the road as it is living in an apartment or even having a house payment. Basically, your expenses are relatively the same. You're just on the move rather than stable. One location, you're just spending the money. Instead of paying a house payment, you're paying it on a van. Vans can cost $200,000 these days or more. It's about the money, the stability. That's what you've got to consider. If you're going to consider life on the road, you've got to get out of this myth that somehow it's not as expensive, that it's cheap. Well, it's not. Van life actually amplifies the financial pressure because of breakdowns, maintenance problems, issues that come up. I mean, if you're living in a house and your water heater goes out, for example, well, you still have a place to sleep. Let's say your air conditioner goes out. Well, big deal. You can still take a bath. You can still sleep at night. You might be a little warm, but on the road, when you're relying on your vehicle as your home, when things break down, it can cause all kinds of problems. It can disrupt your travel for sure. So you've got to define a monthly income that you can live on and survive, and make sure you've got that monthly income taken care of. Let's say it's $2,000 a month. You need $2,000 a month to pay your bills, to eat, and to do the things that you would do if you were living in an apartment or a house. Well, make sure you have that $2,000 coming in. And then in addition to that, you need a pretty good emergency fund set aside. $3,000 or $4,000 in a maintenance account for an emergency is not too much, so that when something does break down, you've got the finances to pay for it. Money and stability is a key issue that you really need to consider, something that you really need to think about before you get on the road. Now, my first experience of life on the road happened back in 2007, 2008, after the death of my mother. I went on the road. I had $700 in cash, and that was it. And I was basically living on faith. I was living on luck. I had no reserves. I had no monthly income. I just had $700 in cash, and I wanted to get on the road and basically grieve for the loss of my mother in my own way. And for me, that was to travel and to hit the road. And what I did was I would travel to a particular city and then stop, find a part-time job, and then work for 3 or 4 months before I saved up enough money to move on to the next location. I remember the first night I stayed was at a casino in Oklahoma. And then I went on to Oklahoma City and stayed there 2 or 3 nights. And again, I was living on my $700 a month. I mean, my $700 that I had in my pocket. I didn't have any monthly income at all. I didn't have a job. I had quit my job and I just hit the road. So I had $700 that I was spending. And by the time I got to Oklahoma City, I was into the trip for about a week. And my next decision was to drive to Albuquerque. So I drove to New Mexico. And once I got to Albuquerque, I started looking for a job because I knew I was out of money. And so I found a job working 20 hours a week and began to save up money. I was still living out of my car, sleeping in the parking lot of a casino, and was working 20 to 25 hours a week. And I was setting money aside, and I worked that job until the winter. Sometime in like November, before the winter started breaking out in Albuquerque, I wanted to move further south to get away from the snow. So I drove to Tucson, and in Tucson, I found another part-time job, and I ended up staying in Tucson for 3 or 4 months. So that's the way I did my first road trip. I did it in pieces, in jumps and starts, because I didn't have the regular monthly income that you need to live a stable life. So if you're going to get on the road and you're going to live full time on the road, be sure you have that income level stabilized, and it would be helpful to have that emergency fund with a pretty good amount of money set aside. The second thing you need to consider is the number of decisions that you have to make each day. It's sort of a life on the road Life on the road gives you a recipe for disaster when it comes to making decisions, because you have so many decisions that you have to make every day. Where do I sleep? What am I going to eat? Where am I going to go? What is my plan for the day? Are there maintenance issues that I need to take care of? If I'm working a job on my laptop computer, how do I do that job every day? When do I set aside the time to do my work as well as travel? What happens if I need an oil change and all of the mechanics, all those shops are closed? The weather turns bad. There's all kinds of things that you have to worry about on a daily basis, and all kinds of decisions that have to be made. And over time, because you are making so many decisions on a daily basis, it begins to wear you down, and you become really stressed out. There is this thing called decision fatigue. And if decision fatigue sits in, where you're making so many decisions on a daily basis, you're under such stress, what decision fatigue does is it begins to break down your ability to make wise decisions in the long run. You start making poor decisions because you're just so stressed out. You're just so tired of having to make so many choices throughout the day. Well, let me suggest that you do this. Let me suggest that you trade some of the major decisions, put those aside, and start making some rules instead. Replace major decisions with some rules. For example, I have a rule. I will find a place to sleep before 4 p.m. every night. By 4 p.m., I know for certain where I'm going to sleep. That's a rule. Well, it takes that decision off the table when I have that rule. Another rule might be, maybe a rule will be, I only will drive between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. each day. That's it. I'm going to drive between 10 and 4. And that's it. That's a rule. Well, again, it sort of takes that decision off the table. So make a list of the major decisions that you have each day that are driving you crazy, and see if you can come up with a rule that will help structure your day, and it'll help ease the stress of having to make those decisions. The third thing I'm going to suggest that you consider if you're looking at life on the road is the idea of lifestyle. Is this a lifestyle fit? Not everyone is made for life on the road. So you need to ask yourself, is this something you really want to do? Because you're going to be giving up some comforts for life on the road, some conveniences. You're going to be living in limited space. You're going to have limited privacy. You're going to have perhaps problems taking regular showers. You're going to have problems getting online, the internet. There's going to be the problem of weather. That a lot of van lifers say they like to chase the good weather. So you're constantly looking at the weather and trying to decide, okay, it's going to be snowing here tomorrow, so I better move further south. Let me check the weather forecast and find a nice sunny location that I can drive to. So there's all kinds of trade-offs going on. And are you built for making trade-offs? Are you flexible enough in your own lifestyle to where you can be willing to give up certain things and make trade-offs? Are you willing to give up a daily shower, maybe shower 2 or 3 times a week rather than every day? Are you willing to set aside visits with the family? The bottom line is, the question is not, do I like the idea of living on the road full time? That's not the question. The question is, can I tolerate life on the road and make these trade-offs that are necessary? Can I be flexible enough and be willing to make these trade-offs? That's the real question. The only other suggestion I would make to wrap all of this up is to maybe give it a shot, give it practice. Maybe go on the road for a week or two. Maybe go on a 2-week trip and see how it works out. See if you like it. Do a test run. Since I've been on the road a lot, I spent a year, that first year in 2007, 2008, I spent a year on the road. And there have been other times over the last 10 years where I have had extended stays on the road. So I know what it takes. I know what it feels like. And I know how expensive it can be. And I know the trade-offs that are being made. And it fits my lifestyle. So you have to ask yourself, am I really ready to try this full time? And the only way you'll know that is if you give it a shot. Travel for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then return home and give it a thought, see what you want to do. And then once you decide that you want to give this a shot, over time you can start to make that transition from living a stable life in a home to living a more flexible, unstable life on the road. But it can be just as rewarding, be just as fun, and just as entertaining as anything you'll ever do. Well, that's today's update. Go out and have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow.